Hello, everyone. Um, Oops, let me close this and get started. Hi, everybody. I am Steve Wieck. I am the president of Roll20, and I am honored to be here today at Onyx Path Con 2023. I hope everybody's been having a great show. I appreciate Onyx Path inviting Roll20 here to have a little panel, a little demonstration. And today I get to show off a lot of cool stuff that's been happening at Roll20 and a lot of cool stuff that's coming up on Roll20, some of which nobody has seen before. And so here at Onyx Path will be the first time that we show off to the public some of the cool stuff that we're working on at Roll20. And I hope you'll join me for the next hour as we walk through that. As I go rambling along today, I would love it if you have questions for me about anything that has to do with Roll20 or Drive-Through RPG or Life, the Universe, and everything. It would help. I've got Travis Legg in my ear helping me out moderating, and it would help us out if you do have questions during the presentation today. Just like do an all caps questions in chat and ask your question. If it's something I'm talking about at the moment, we'll try to pause and answer the question, but we'll also save some of those questions for the end and have a Q&A session at the end for anything I missed or any other topics you want to cover. If you have the Chips of Onyx, that I think helps support the channel, so that's always appreciated as well. So let's get started. I guess I should introduce myself a little bit better. Again, my name is Steve Wieck. I have had the pleasure of working professionally. Most of my professional life really has been in this lovely art form and hobby of role-playing games. I was one of those 1980s Stranger Things kids growing up playing D&D in my friends' basements, and lots of other games too. And my older brother Stuart, and I would do some writing. We did a little freelance writing for some games. And one day at high school, my brother came up to me and said, "Hey, Steve, do you want to start a magazine?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And that was the day that the original White Wolf Publishing was born. My brother and I were the founders of the original White Wolf Publishing there starting in the late 80s. And we were producing this little fanzine magazine to get going. And somewhere along the way, this guy named Richard Thomas out of Pennsylvania, we get in touch with him, start to become friends, and Rich becomes the artist and art director of this fledgling magazine. And of course, that started a relationship. I've known Richard Thomas, who of course has gone on to be the founder and owner of Onyx Path Publishing now. And I've had the pleasure of working with Rich ever since the late 80s when he became the art director of White Wolf Magazine and later went on to become the art director of all of White Wolf during the 90s when we were putting out the World of Darkness and lots of other games. And eventually Rich even became creative director. But during that time, sort of over my professional career in games here, my first chapter of it was founding White Wolf and being the CEO of White Wolf Publishing all through the 90s. My brother and I worked on, created Mage the Ascension, and I got to work creatively on lots of different White Wolf properties from Exalted to Scion to Aberrant. A lot of those games, to be clear, had other big C creators like Jeff Grabowski, John Chambers, who were the main creators of the games, but it was a lot of fun through the 90s contributing to those games, which makes it super rewarding for me to see that Onyx Path, with a lot of new creators and fresh voices, have created better than ever editions of many of these games, and these things are still going strong. And still universes and things that I love to dabble in, whether I'm playing on Roll20 or in person or wherever. So anyway, the first chapter of my life was helping found and run White Wolf, and then around 2004, I split off and founded another company, Drive-Through RPG. So I was one of the founders of Drive-Through RPG, and for the last almost 20 years now, that's been my primary passion, is running Drive-Through RPG. And then last year, Drive-Through RPG, along with our other sites like Pathfinder Infinite, DM's Guild, Wargame Vault, Our company joined forces with Roll20, the premier virtual tabletop service for our hobby, and we joined forces last year, and so that's why now I'm coming and getting to talk to you as a person from Roll20, all about all the cool stuff that's happening on the Roll20 platform, as well as Drive-Thru RPG, and along the way, if I have an embarrassing story or two to tell about Richard Thomas, I'll try to throw that in as well, because Rich isn't here to defend himself. So that's good. So I'm going to get started. You didn't come to hear about me. You came to hear about what we're doing. And I know we're here mostly to talk about talk about Roll20, but I am going to share a little bit about Drive-Thru RPG first for just a couple minutes. And the reason being is that we are literally on the verge of a multi-year project for Drive-Thru RPG going live, knock on wood, tomorrow. It will go live, and so I wanted to just say a quick word about Drive-Thru RPG. We have been going for 20 years now, and it's been wonderful ride, because every year we've gotten to help more gamers find more games that they enjoy, and every year that we've been around, that's led to us being able to send more money out to the publishers and creators who create this art form that I expect most of you love, like I love. And so that's been very rewarding for us to be able to facilitate that, and a big thank you to all the folks out there who are customers of Drive-Thru RPG and enable the people making this art form to get paid. Over the span of Drive-Thru RPG, we have made lots of improvements to the site over time, but any software product that gets to be this old accumulates some technical debt, and as we add the next feature on, it starts to be kind of like we're trying to graft the 12th limb onto the flesh golem. It gets harder and harder. And so several years ago, we started a project which we call Project Phoenix, the fiery rebirth of Drive-Thru RPG. We started a project to completely recode Drive-Thru RPG from the ground up. And so the whole platform's been recoded, and the last piece of that, the last main piece of that, which is the checkout page, I'm told if you're a marketplace, it helps to have a checkout page. I don't know. The last piece of that is ready, and so we hope to take all of this live tomorrow. And while we've been previewing the site, if you want to, starting tomorrow, you'll be able to use the new Drive-Thru RPG for a full shopping experience, should you be so inclined. We've tried to give the site an overhaul and give it a more modern aesthetic, elevate some functionality that we think people want, and hide away some things that are less useful. So it's got a complete makeover, totally new code base, which will run faster than ever before, although we're currently doing some server migration today in preparation for tomorrow. So if we have an error or the site runs slow while I'm doing my live streaming demo, that's probably why. Anyway, the new function, you can browse categories, you can find stuff from your favorite publishers, or look for games that are, we have over 100,000 titles now on Drive-Thru RPG, so we know it's important to give you different ways to sort by rule system, by thousands of different creators, or easily find folks like Onyx Path that are, top publishers on the platform. Here you can see the new publisher page on Drive-Thru for Onyx Path. We can see that Onyx produces 1 or 2 game lines. I mean, I think they've become quite slackers over there. Are they producing any books these days? So anyway, you can see all the great game lines that Onyx produces. One of the things we've elevated with the redesign of Drive-Thru RPG is this ability to follow a publisher if you want. So if I were logged in, I could just flip the switch and start following Onyx Path, which would just mean that I get an email to my inbox anytime Onyx Path is releasing a new title. If you're just a fan of a specific game line, like I'm a fan of Pugmire, I can come in here and just follow Pugmire, get an email every time there's a new Pugmire release. We tried to make it easier to sort of browse through. If I only want to see Pugmire core rule books, you can start narrowing your search amongst all the titles on Drive-Thru. We've tried to give a fresh new aesthetic to the product page and get some information in front of you, make it clearer to choose if you're choosing a print format or PDF. Another cool thing we've added with the redesign and overhaul of Drive-Thru is there's now a dark mode. So if you want to come to the footer, you can switch to dark mode in case that's more pleasing on the eyes. So we've put a lot of work into this, and we know we aren't going to get everything right, but starting tomorrow, if you go to what we now affectionately call the legacy site, you'll probably see this opt-in at the top here if you want to come and do the preview and try out the new look of Drive-Thru RPG and give us feedback on what we got right and what we got wrong. That would be awesome to hear from everybody. But I know you didn't come probably to hear too much about Drive-Thru RPG. This is the Roll20 panel, and so we should probably jump over and talk about a lot of the cool stuff that's going on at Roll20 as well. So let's do that. For those of you who don't know, Roll20 is a virtual tabletop, which means that you and your friends can get together virtually online and come and join together and play a game. Here I'm actually in a game, in a virtual tabletop game in Roll20. I started a game for They Came From Beneath the Sea. I've got my crab people here. I've got my robot shark. We are ready to go to terrorize some folks. So you can jump in and create a game. It's a completely free platform to use. Of course, there's some benefits if you choose to be a subscriber or choose to purchase like some Onyx Path content. We'll show a few of those benefits later. Not that I'm in sales mode here, just wanted to make everybody aware of the options. But very much, I wanted to talk today a little bit about what's been going on at Roll20 and what's coming into Roll20, including talking about some stuff that has never been talked about in public yet for Roll20 as far as what's coming, and hope that my marketing team doesn't get too angry at me tomorrow for talking about some of this stuff. But much like Drive-Thru RPG has gone and is transforming from an older look to a new platform, in a similar way, Roll20 has been around for 10 years now and has added tons of new functionality. And a lot of the functionality that you can use to make your game easier to run is the user interface needs an overhaul to update that to make sure everybody's aware of all the cool stuff you can do on Roll20 and just make the whole platform a little bit easier to use. And so one of the big things that's going on for Roll20 right now is it's also doing a big overhaul of all the user interface of Roll20. A couple weeks ago, the first part of that came out, so if you're on Roll20, you can go under Settings and control whether you want to opt into or out of the user interface redesign. I'm just going to go ahead and reload the page, and so we'll see the first part of that user interface redesign that's going on. The first phase of the redesign predominantly has to do with this left-hand sidebar here that goes along the left side. We did also update the zoom function, so I can click on this and like zoom to fit to see my entire map area. In this case, for this demo, I'm using I'll give a shout out to Gabriel Picard, who's one of the artists on the Roll20 marketplace, and They Came From Beneath the Sea needed a dock setting, so I grabbed one of Gabriel's Quick Encounters docks map to use here. So kudos to Gabriel. Thanks for letting us use the map. Anyway, we've got the zoom function has kind of been updated. You can change it to a slider function and or switch back. And of course, Control or Command scroll wheel on your mouse still works to zoom in and out of the play surface. But the main improvement for the game has been the update of this left-hand sidebar. And so you've got your select tool. You can't see it. Maybe you can see it, maybe not on the stream. We have tool tips that help you try to identify the hotkeys that help you more quickly access these tools if you want to use them. And the select tool, of course, just lets me select whatever tokens or things are going on the board or manipulate the map. While I'm in select mode, right-click will still pan, but we also have added a pan option more explicitly for folks who want it. And a lot of the functions have just gotten a bit of an update, so it's just a lot clearer and easier to use. Again, we're calling out if you want quicker access through hotkeys to do some drawing on the map or lay some text down on the map. The effects tool is still here. If we want, I don't know, my crab people, maybe they can vomit blood at each other or something. And then just going down are lights. You can place lights if you want to ambiently light your map or place doors or windows. We've got Fog of War, which lets you, hide the map from your players and gradually reveal areas of the map as it's explored, or they auto-reveal it as it's explored. The measurement tool lets me measure or right-click and set waypoints and measure distances on the map. We've got our initiative tracker, and of course the dice roller. So all of these things available right here on the redesigned left menu. For the dice roller, of course, with Onyx Path, we're talking about a lot of dice pool systems. So we want to go into the advanced dice roller and open up and start using target numbers. Maybe our target number is 7 or something, and we're rolling 5 dice. And you can just click and roll, and our result will show up here in chat. Oh, 4 successes. Oh, that's because I added D20. That's why I needed to change that. That's cheating, Steve. Can't do that. Okay, 3 successes. Anyway, and it stores your last dice rolls and makes it easy. The nice thing is if you, with the new user interface, as you move these things around and close them, whenever you reopen them, you're right back to the same settings for quick and easy use. But the main thing that the user interface overhaul of this left menu has done is elevate out what we call the sort of 4 primary layers of the virtual tabletop. So this whole play surface, we kind of break it down into 4 different general layers. And now we've broken it out so it's easy for you to see which layer you're on and which layer you're sort of manipulating as you change things and work through the map a bit. So for example, the map layer lets me manipulate the underlying map. If I want to lay down or make drawings on the underlying map, I can do that on the map layer. The top layer is the token layer, and that's where most of the action happens if I'm moving tokens around and we're actually playing the game. You'll see the robot shark here is a little bit faded out. That's because it's not on the token layer. It's hidden from player view. It's on what we call the GM layer. I guess for they came from beneath the sea, that could probably be the director layer or something. But and that means the shark's hidden from player view. He's underneath the waves, and anytime I want to reveal it to players, I can just right-click on it and change which layer it's on, move it up to the token layer, and then the robot shark emerges to terrorize my players. So things like that just makes it very quick and easy to see which layer you're on. And finally, there is a lighting layer. So if we wanted to, say we use the draw tool, we could draw lines in the lighting layer around this little hut that's on the docks. And then vision for the players would be obscured until they go around and look inside, move their tokens around and look inside that area. Dynamic lighting is a subscriber feature. I will say everything else I'm showing as a completely free feature on site. So anyway, the left-hand bar is the first part of the user interface that's been overhauled. And we haven't, I think, talked about it publicly, but the next big piece of the user interface that will be overhauled will be the Pages menu, which is this little thing up here in the top where you can draw down, and this is where you'd have little thumbnails for every different scene that you have going on in your campaign. In this case, I just started this game, so I just have this single scene. But you can imagine over the course of a campaign that you're going to accumulate quite a number of pages and scenes up here. And especially for Roll20 campaigns that have been going on a long time, you can get dozens and dozens of pages and scenes up here. And so this is an area that we know Roll20 fans have been asking for some improvements to. And so the Pages menu is the next thing to get a big overhaul, including the ability to better organize your pages, so you can group pages in different folders and generally more easily access your pages and settings. So that will be coming next. I always hesitate to give time frames because if I go tomorrow, my engineering team as well as my marketing team will be angry for me for giving any dates or promises. But this toolbar rework is far enough along. I think I can comfortably say by the end of summer or early fall that that will be out. Some other things that are coming up for Roll20 is that while we have now done the user interface overhaul of some of these the left menu, we're going back to actually improve the functionality of some of these tools. So for example, on the measure tool, we're going to be adding some new functions here so you can measure out cone, square, circle, area of effects. So if you're playing a game that uses that sort of thing and you want to measure out a circular area of effect, you can do that with the measure tool. With the updates that are coming to that, we'll also be updating the fog of war tool to add some brushes so you can more easily brush away the fog of war or add fog of war to big areas of your map at once. And later this year, probably towards the end of the year, we're going to be making some improvements to the initiative tracker and turn order tracker, I think. So a lot of cool stuff coming. And a lot of this is made possible because, honestly, the engineering team at Roll20 has never been bigger. um, the team is producing improvements to Roll20 at a velocity that in 10 years of time the platform has never seen the velocity that we're making improvements at right now. So it's a real pleasure to see that team at work and all the cool stuff they're working on. Last year, yeah,
Steve, just
yeah.
a second. If you could you just let the audience know like where they might, if they run into a problem with a sheet or something like that,
Mhm.
or any functionality where they might go to report that?
Yeah. So Travis is just letting me know there's a question about if there's a error with a sheet or anything on Roll20, where to report that. And I think the easiest thing to do is to go to site and contact our customer service team and let them know as specifically as possible what kind of error you're seeing. We love screenshots if you have them as well when you contact our customer service team at Roll20. And you can just go to the Roll20 site and look for the help and contact the team there. We actually love to hear about little improvements that we can make to any of the sheets and things that are on site. So by all means, give us some feedback. Speaking of which, I can bring up the They Came From Beneath the Sea sheet here in a minute, and we can play around with it to see if we spot anything that could be improved on that sheet. Um, so anyway, we are making updates to all these things. The engineering team is working hard. Last year, the team, for example, completely overhauled the voice and video feature for Roll20. So if you've been on Roll20 a while and you tried out the voice and video that was on the Roll20 platform, um, we run measurements with our servers to see kind of what the connectivity rates are, and the old voice and video system needed improvement, we'll say. Wasn't great. But the team at Roll20 engineering team rolled out a completely new voice and video system last year, and it is like amazingly better. We can measure things from our end, and we see that people are getting 99% plus connection. It's really easy if you do happen to lose connection to reconnect with a click. So if you're playing on Roll20 and you're still using Discord or something else for your voice and video, you might want to just give it a try at least and give a try to the new voice and video and see if it works for you. Personally, I love having to not sort of go back and forth between Discord and the VTT play surface when I'm playing a virtual game online and just see my friends' faces right there all in one screen. But so give it a try. But last year Roll20 rolled out dark mode and doors and windows and lots of other features. So it's been exciting for me to see the progress the engineering team's making on all these cool things. And we're going to talk about one or more cool things as well as we go along. In fact, let's go ahead and talk about some of that now. I'll do a lead in here, I guess. One of the big new features that's coming to Roll20 this year is what we call Roll20 characters. And to lead into Roll20 characters, I should probably talk for a second first about a few things about running characters online within the virtual tabletop at Roll20. Um, you can do all this again for free. Like, it's really important to us at Roll20 that you can always have a great, totally free experience to play a game. So you can come to Roll20, create a game for They Came From Beneath the Sea. I can come to my journal tab and I can like create a new character here. Maybe we'll say this is Jane Doe or something, and I can create a character sheet for Jane. Um, and I can, come in here and player name Steve, and I can start to give Jane, different skills and attributes, and All of this will be stored, of course, for Jane. So if I close the character sheet, all of this gets saved. And if I want to give Jane, I don't know, a quip or something, I can do that, or add a trademark for Jane. I can type all those things in here. But and I can do all that for free. If you want to support Onyx Path, you can go to the Roll20 marketplace and purchase the core rulebook for that came from Beneath the Sea. In Roll20, we kind of call this a compendium. So you're purchasing the core rulebook and you're getting the compendium, and if you choose to do so, that unlocks a lot of cool stuff for you. For example, you can come and use the online compendium viewer to essentially read the core rulebook from the site. You can also, if you're in a game with friends, you can share the compendium, so the people in that Beneath the Sea game can also read the compendium right there along with you. And if you do decide to purchase the compendium, then some of the things that are nice for you within the game perhaps are that as you use your characters, when you purchase the compendium, you have an extra panel here on the right that shows up for compendiums, and that gives you lots of cool stuff. So for example, if I wanted to add a trope to Jane's character sheet, I can just open up that section of the compendium and just sort of drag and drop atomic power out here, and that will auto-populate onto Jane's character sheet. Or if I want to populate a stunt onto the character sheet, I can, on the compendiums, I can come to stunts and see, and maybe Jane has the all-seeing eye or something, and drop that onto the character sheet, and it's it just speeds up play. It makes certain things that much easier for me. Another nice thing of the compendium is that all of the threats, all of those enemies, those nasties that are in the that come with the core book are all here, statted with tokens ready to go. That's how I brought these out onto the map. Is you can just come in here and get another crab person, or if I want the gargantuan squid, I literally just click and drag the gargantuan squid out. It imports and sets up that character sheet for me, and it's all already statted. So during gameplay, I can come in here and, if the squid's going to grab somebody with a tentacle, roll that close combat might roll, and that'll just roll easily into chat. Oh, only 2 successes. Whew, come on, squid. So a lot of that is sped up just by owning the compendium, but nothing is required. I think we should. Oh, I'm on the Fog of War tool still. Nope, no thank you. There we go. We need to get our giant squid to be more giant here. Okay. And so some of that stuff is just sped up having the compendium, and that's nice. But particularly with when you're doing your characters, it can be a nice feature. Which leads me into Roll20 characters. Roll20 characters is taking the same, when I have Jane's character sheet here and I'm saving this and storing it, it's great for when I'm using it within the VTT. But what Roll20 characters is going to do is take all of that and bring it outside of the VTT as well. And so Roll20 characters will give you the ability to come just to the regular website, not within a VTT play experience, but maybe you're playing in person and just want to bring up your character on a web form. So you can come in here and create a character, and maybe I'll be John Doe this time. And I don't know if this drop list will show in the stream or not, but I'm sort of browsing through the 1,200 different character sheets that are available on Roll20. There's basically a character sheet here for nearly every game out there. And so if I want to say, here's actually an alternate version sheet for They Came From Beneath the Sea. This one's created by the community. And I can just come in here and create John Doe, and I'll just create him on this version of the character sheet. And again, all this is just going to be, when Roll20 characters is available, this is all just going to be web accessible. So I can come in here and stat out John Doe and give him his attributes and whatnot. And then when I save the changes, all that information on my character will be saved. And when I return, in my character vault on Roll20, I've got John saved now. Anytime I want to come back and I'm ready to play my next game session, I can just come and view John's sheet directly from the web and easily access that and update John as gameplay goes, or during the game. If I want to use the sheet during the game, I can come in here and make rolls, and it'll roll for me into a chat window here, all my roll logs. So all this is going to be available, again, completely for free on Roll20. So you can come, once Roll20 Characters launches, you can see I have an admin account. So I'm getting to see a few extra options on Roll20 right now that not everybody will see. Right now this is in alpha stage, so we're doing internal testing, and we expect this will launch by the end of the summer. I'm even optimistic it'll be end of July into August, but by end of summer we'll have this available, so you can come in and, again, almost any game, any role-playing game out there, you can just create a new character and get a web accessible sheet to use, and if you choose to use that, and help you automate the calculations on the character sheet and make some rolls during play, come back between games, update your character, whatever you want to do, you'll have the ability to manage these characters for nearly any game, and again, all completely for free. I will say, if you want to create a character, well, forgive me, I'm gonna the awesome name of Dread. I'm such a creative person here. Forgive me for using a Dungeons and Dragons sheet on an Onyx Path one. I could build this character out with the Character Mancer as well if I wanted to do that. But what I really wanted to show was that a lot of the stuff that's available to you within the VTT is also available to you here. So I'll have the ability to bring up that compendium. I'll have the ability to bring up that compendium, which would appear over here, and then I could just drag and drop things if I wanted to onto the character sheet to populate it, the same as I can do within the VTT. So all that stuff is going to be available through Roll20 Characters, and we hope to have that out to everybody later this summer, even.
We do have another question about potential features.
Yeah.
Are there any plans to add a broadcasting mode or plugins for streamers or actual pre-producers? Things that might control like whether pop-ups are singing or rap.
Right. So we have a question about whether Roll20 is planning to add some features that make life easier for streamers, and the answer is yes, absolutely, we are. There's currently, when you're in the virtual tabletop, there's a bit of an issue here of whether you're in Game Master view or player view, and what view is it that you want to show out when you're streaming, because you don't want to be streaming out and revealing everything that, if my giant squid here is still down on the Game Master layer and hidden from view, I get to see that as a Game Master. In fact, one of my controls here is I can control, the opacity of those things on the GM layer, so that as the GM, I know it's a little bit hidden still because I can see it's faded out. But I don't want to reveal that on my stream and have it spoiled for everybody. So the primary thing, one of the primary things at least, that we're looking at for streaming function, of course, is to add easy way to have views that are ideal for the streaming audience to see what's ideal to see from the player's point of view, but doesn't show all the extra Game Master stuff, but doesn't make it too laborious for the Game Master who might be managing that stream to run all of that. So there's a few things that are going on in engineering, but I will say they're right now just in prototyping stages to help facilitate a lot of that. And so I can't give you any firm estimates on when we could expect to see some of that stuff rolled out. But it is something that's under active prototyping and development at Roll20. So great question, thanks. I guess, you know what, I'm wondering if there's anything else I should be showing on Roll20 at the moment. Are there any other questions on Roll20 or anything else I've shown?
One just came in. Are there plans to tie the Draft RPG and Roll20 databases together? So, for example, I can buy a drive-through PDF and a Roll20 companion from the same place.
Yeah. So the question, that Travis is feeding me is there a there's a question about tying the drive-through RPG and Roll20 databases together, and that's an excellent question. Um, One of the things that we're already doing on drive-through is that you can come to the site already, and you can go under like a virtual tabletops filter here, and soon you'll have a Roll20 filter there as well to find Roll20 products that you can purchase on drive-through. And the advantage of bringing those over and bringing those Roll20 titles over to drive-through is that you will be able to, when you want to go to buy Exalted Essence, you'll be able to, very easily bundle together any of the formats you want to purchase of it, whether it's the PDF or the print book or the Roll20 compendium version of that, and have access to all of that. In a broader context, we're working on single sign-on, so you'll have one Roll20 account that works for you across Drive-Thru RPG or Roll20, and that's going to allow us to also do things like within the VTT, bring in into your sort of library, bring in your easier access to your any PDFs or any other titles that you've purchased in your drive-through library will be available to you. So those are all things that are in the works right now. But we are actually, we're going to start to have those Roll20 titles available on drive-through within the next 2 weeks. Some of them will start to become available. A few of them are actually available already right now. So that is absolutely happening, and that part's happening soon. Some of the deeper integrations to give you a seamless login, or to make your library on either site give you better access to all the stuff you've got on Roll20 and drive-through all in one place. Those things are all in the works as well. And of course, we're happy to hear suggestions on exactly what form that takes, and what how you think that feature should look, or what things you want the most. One of the nice things for Roll20 is that, I hope it was nice, is that we truly listen to what the community wants. There's if you go to the Roll20 forums, there's a forum dedicated, and there's even sort of voting rules around it about being able to upvote different features that you want to see added to the platform. And so last year, 2022, the Roll20 product and engineering team tackled and knocked out 7 of the 10 most requested features that the forum had upvoted last year. So things like dark mode came about because those were the top most voted features from the community. And this year, the Roll20 is on track to probably release at least 5 out of the top 10 that are now at the top 10, the new top 10 list. And the only reason they're not doing more is because a lot of the team, of course, is devoted to the user interface overhaul. But along the way, we're picking up a lot of those requested features. One of the requested features that's going to make it this year, for example, is map pins, where you can sort of place, if you have a big map, like say I have a campaign map, maybe there's a map of all of North America and all the weird stuff that's happening, erupting here, and they came from beneath the sea across the different coastal towns of North America. I can put in, I can tie handouts, Roll20 handout function. I can tie a handout to a map pin and put a pin there and allow my players to open those. Or if they've done some big, corkboard investigation, X-Files style conspiracy corkboard, we can use map pins to pin different handouts to that corkboard and give a nice visual for players to interact with while they're playing the game and collecting clues. So that map pins feature is something that's been one of the most top voted features from Roll20 users, and that's why it's getting some attention this year, as another good example of that. In fact, map pins might even be out. Well, no, my engineering team will kill me if I give a date, but definitely this year, we'll say. Definitely this year. So anyway, the velocity the team's making is great, and I would encourage you to go to the forums and make your voice heard there. Not that I am not also happy to hear any comments folks have from on these advances that we're making. One of the interesting things about Roll20 is that having been around for 10 years, the engineering team has been expanding. You know, I talk a lot about how it's bigger than ever and there's more velocity than ever. The team, there's an interesting story that goes back, unfortunately, to COVID era, where there's a point in 2020 when the technical team at Roll20 in the middle of the night North American time, like at 3 a.m. North American time, they got an alert, one of the sort of automated alerts that your system operators set up, server ops people set up, and they got up and they thought that the Roll20 site was under a DDoS, a distributed a DDoS attack, where your site's flooded with traffic to try to expose vulnerabilities. And they got up, they started investigating the nature of this DDoS attack that seemed to be happening on the Roll20 servers at the time. And they started to identify that all of the traffic was coming from Italy. This whole DDoS attack, all the traffic was coming from Italy. And then they realized that Italy was unfortunately one of the first countries to go into a lockdown mode during COVID. And this, what they initially thought was a DDoS attack because of the volume of traffic, was actually all the Italian players coming to use Roll20 for their games. Um, and then that quickly spread like wildfire, of course, as the world went into lockdown. And every ounce of Roll20 engineering time for about the next 18 months was consumed with keeping servers up and running during that period. And so there's a bit of a sigh of relief as the engineering team has now been able to turn its attention to getting back to really improving the platform instead of just keeping the lights on and the servers running during that very difficult period that we all went through. Anyway, little interesting story there. Do we have any other questions?
No other questions, but there
Mm-hmm.
have been a couple of comments just to state that a couple of the folks in chat have had great experiences with the Drive Through RPG customer service. They've been stellar, and also as a personal note, I want to thank you for and your team for the work done during COVID.
Well, thanks. Travis is just letting me know some of what's going on in chat, so I definitely appreciate the comments. I will pass that back to our Drive-Thru RPG customer service team. The kudos for them. I do appreciate hearing that. I think they do a great job, and I'm glad that that's been the experience people are having. And like many of you, I've been really fortunate to have virtual tabletops as an option to play in our hobby now, and as a way to connect with friends. And of course, what it really lets me do is play even more games because now I can play with all my remote friends as well as all my local friends through different means. And Roll20 is intent to build out what I showed you for Roll20 characters, just the simple ability to create some web accessible character sheets. That's really just the very beginning. It's like milestone one of what we have in mind for Roll20 to assist you, whether you're playing your game in person or playing on the virtual tabletop. We've got a whole slew of features that we're gearing up to roll out to make that experience quite exceptional, I hope. And so it makes me very excited for where the hobby's going as well, and what's possible with this nice art form. I always think role-playing games, we're still okay. So maybe role-playing games could be maybe 50 years old or so right now, and that seems like a long time, but really it's a completely new art form, and it's only 50 years old, and I think the ways it's going to grow and change are hard to predict, but it's beautiful to see all the ways that the art form continues to prosper and spread. And I hope everybody here is having fun. playing their favorite Onyx Path game and running a nice campaign with it. And if you're playing that on Roll20 or wherever you're playing it, I hope it's been a great experience for you. Um, so I thanks for everybody for coming out to the panel. If we don't have any more comments or questions, I think we're going to give you back your time, and appreciate you coming and letting me chat at you and ramble on and show you a couple of things of what's coming for Roll20 and Drive-Through. And look forward. I think the next event, Travis will correct me in my ear, I think we've got one more event at Onyx Path Con for sort of a kind of a closing ceremonies, Travis, or
That is correct.
yep. So we've got the closing ceremony coming up in about an hour and 15 maybe. Is that right? So
The time zones are so complicated. Yeah, I think
yeah,
I think it's in an hour. Yeah.
it's in about an hour. So everybody, we'll see you then. Thanks a lot for coming, and cheers.
And several people in the chat just said thanks for your time. So.
Thank you.